Hi, welcome to Mark Pukita's Truth Bomb. I'm Mark Pukita. We've got a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about JANE TIMKEN'S supposed surge in the polls, and then a quick campaign update. Joining me tonight will be Chris Hicks. Come on in, Chris.
Hey, Mark,
Hey,
how you
Chris.
doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
So we're ready to go with topic one, which is immigration, and we're going off the script on. We did not cover this one yet from the pulling the chips out of the can, but we
Uh-oh.
thought it was an important one enough to cover it as a topic in and of itself. So this is your from your handy dandy guide, your 21-point guide. And which then we sometimes forget which ones we covered, but I'm going to mark this one off because we're going to cover this tonight. So this is the night we talk about immigration, probably one of the most pressing and important issues facing our country.
Absolutely.
And so do you want to talk some, maybe just, this is what's on your card, maybe hit a little bit what's on your card. And then I've come up with 6 areas that I want to ask you about your views on in immigration.
Sure. So the 4 areas here: control our borders, build a wall. I mean, I've said for a long time, we need to build a wall and we need to back our border patrol. Donald Trump had immigration down to almost nothing. We're now over 200,000 a month, unacceptable. The folks that are coming into the country are coming from countries that have corrupt governments, or they've got financially mismanaged countries. And so the root cause of this, to some extent, is these people wanting to get out of those bad situations. The other thing is, and we need to look at immigration as a strategic initiative for the country, and we can talk about that a little more, but we need to have an America first immigration policy, meaning we need to look at what we need and bring those people into the country. And then we've got to get people to assimilate. Some of the problems that we've got in our communities are direct, I believe, are directly related to the fact that we're no longer asking people to assimilate in a melting pot. And that is not a good thing. We're ending up with communities that are bifurcated, and that's not good. So if you want to get into your points, Chris.
Yeah, what I did is I thought there's kind of 6 areas that I came up with, and I keep looking at my hat here because it's not quite straight on my head. And I want to get my hat straight on here. I'm wearing my Mark Pukita hat, which you can get when you go to Mark Pukita events, which you can find at markforohio.com/events. So I took 6 areas here. So we've got illegal immigration, we got legal immigration, we've got skills, we've got border control. Asylum, these are words we hear a lot, and investment, like kind of business people coming here and businesses coming here. So, Mark, I'm just going to take you through these and ask you your views and on them. But so let's start with illegal immigration. So, illegal immigration, and I'm going to play, just so I don't get accused by somebody of playing dumb, I'm going to play dumb on these for intentionally on some of these, but I don't get it, Mark. Why is it so bad? Why are you against illegal immigration? I don't get it. A lot of Democrats are for it.
It's bad and it's wrong. I mean, it's bad for our country. It's bad for the immigrant. It's bad for legal immigrants, Chris. People who go through the right process, which is expensive and takes time, but is good for our country because they're vetted. And it's bad for the illegal immigrants. I mean, we've seen the stories of these like waves, these crowds of people coming up from South America, rapes, assaults, murders, health issues. It's not a good situation. And the fact that a political party would say it's okay because they're using it as a replacement strategy for their base, the Democrats, is just, it's horrific. It's crimes against humanity, so to speak.
But you're once they're in the country. So let's say I would come across the border late at night. I get through, now I'm in the United States. Why is that bad?
Well, it's bad because we're not doing anything about following the law and sending them back, right? We're not enforcing the immigration laws we have. So they're coming in, they're taking jobs from people, and they're they're adding to expanding a perpetual underclass because of our entitlement programs. So they're sucking off our economy, and it's really not doing them any good. I mean, studies show that the illegal immigrants are part of an underclass. It's not that many of them that manage to move up the ladder, the ladder of success in the United
Well, I
States.
think the underclass issue, like I'm totally against sanctuary cities. And I once told somebody if I were trying to make an argument for sanctuary cities, okay, I'm against sanctuary cities. I want to be real clear on this, but is that if I was this person with this, I say it's not our fault in our city that these illegals got into our city. That's the federal government's fault for letting them across the border.
Right,
But now that they're here, they're in this kind of perpetual status where they don't necessarily get paid what they should be getting paid.
right.
They can have crimes committed against them that they're afraid to report, and that's part of the tragedy of this also. And with our history in the United States, if I was a woke liberal, I'd say, hey, with our history of slavery and taking advantage of people, isn't that's what happens a lot of times with this illegal immigration and
Absolutely.
they come across and we then use them as a permanent underclass to do jobs where they're not getting paid, maybe not even the same safety standards.
Well, you hit on a couple of issues there when you talked about sanctuary cities. I mean, first of all, we give federal grants to cities for, dealing with immigration and things like that. Why are we giving federal money to sanctuary cities? They should be penalized, and we should be giving that money to people who really want to fight illegal immigration.
Okay. Well, so let's move on to the next one. Legal immigration. So it's funny, I've seen even on your web page, Facebook page, there are people, and I think they're, good intentioned people, but we need to just pause all immigration, stop all immigration. And so legal immigration, what's your view on it and its value or importance or lack thereof to our country?
Well, I kind of alluded to it in the beginning. I think we need to look at immigration as a strategic initiative for the United States, just a strategic project. So let me give you an example. Right now, we've got a chip shortage. What if we decided to use our immigration program and be selective about the skills we bring in, and we brought in all the chip designers in the world and cornered the market on chip design? And today, we have a shortage of fast food workers and retail people. Why don't we open up the floodgates for those kind of people? That might be an impetus to get people off the couch who are Americans and get them back to work.
Well, they had I told you one time in Australia there were two things. Now Australia's a mess right now. Let's agree on this with the COVID and everything else. But there was a time when they had an immigration approach that was based on a point system, and I think they still do. I don't know,
It
but
still is. Yeah,
I
it
don't want to
still
go
is.
there. But
Right.
there's a time, and it was specifically around. I'm going to bridge into the next thing here is the skills part. And, because in Australia, they had that there was a time when hairdressers, believe it or not, was a shortage skill in Australia. And if you were a hairdresser, you got like extra points on your immigration. You had to get a certain number of points to be able to come into the country.
Right.
And so, why don't we bridge into the role of immigration for skills and, how you see that fitting in?
Well, that kind of gets to, when we're having shortages in areas or where we have a strategic need to build up industries, we should be bringing those people to the United States, the best and the brightest. I mean, we should be using our immigration policy as a strategic advantage over the other countries that we compete with around the world. And so, as I said, the chip shortage, pharmaceutical manufacturing, I mean, it will all depend upon where we are as an economy at a certain period of time. But, if to constantly bring in an illegal underclass just doesn't do them or us any good.
Well, and so yeah, in your strategic thing, it's um, there's no strategy to illegal immigration. There's no point system. There's no thought. It's just whoever can get across. It's
Well, that's
not,
yeah.
it's not, it's not ethical.
Yeah, it's like Visa or green card lotteries. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? You just go down to the corner bar and get a Keno card, and we'll figure out whether you can get in or not. I mean, it's absurd on its face. You know, anybody with any common sense realizes that.
Well, if you were, I don't know why I just thought of this, but if you were having somebody come into your house to do something, you interview them and you decide who you want in your house, right? And so it's the same thing I think applies to immigration and on a lot of things. So the next thing on the list is border control. And so, obviously we have an issue at the border, and that's what really has focused this. And so what's your view on what we should do with the border? Open it up all the way now or do what?
Finish. It's easy. Finish the wall. Finish the wall, and give our border patrol the money and the tools they need to do their job. They can do it.
But what about some of your competition wants to, let's pull the SEAL teams out of the field and put them down at the southern border to stop Haitian people, refugees from coming across. What do you think about the military's role?
Yeah, I think the military's role is to take on more strategic enemies like China. The Border Patrol can do it. Trump proved it. We need to be redeploying our military to where we've got the greatest threat. And to me, that's China right now. The top three, China. And it's really interesting that I've got all these people that want to bring the military to the border. I just find that astounding.
Well, it's not really strategic thinking. It's not. It's not. I just leave it at that. It doesn't seem like strategic thinking to me.
Border Patrol people are law enforcement, right? They're going to arrest criminals, right, or people who have broken the law. And illegal immigrants have broken the law. Mm-hmm. Our military is not taught, for the most part, to arrest people. They're taught to shoot people, right? And I don't think we want them going to the border and just picking off illegal immigrants, right? So
I don't know. I watch some of the military commercials now, and I don't know what our military is being taught to do. Maybe they're being taught to identify who amongst your ranks needs transgender treatment. So, but I think they're supposed to be a lethality machine,
right?
That is feared. Okay, so the next thing on my list was asylum. So I know that a lot of the people, asylum, we think of asylum like, I think of watching an old Mission Impossible TV show or something like that.
Right.
We get somebody out of we throw them out in the trunk of the car.
Right.
The scientist from the Eastern Bloc, I think of that kind of asylum,
right.
A dissonant type of asylum. But now we have this thing where, supposedly just if your economy's bad in South America, that's a reason you can try to seek asylum in the United States. So what is your view on asylum and what we should be doing around asylum as it relates to our immigration policies?
Well, we allow all these people in, as you said, that come from countries that are financially distressed and they're corrupt and all the rest. What about, the Democrats have been telling us about how tyrannical and how much of an enemy Russia is. Why don't we grant asylum to Russians who want to get out of that tyranny? What about the Chinese? Hey, here's an idea. Why don't we give preemptive kind of pre-green card status to Taiwanese in the event that China invades them? Using our immigration policy as also a foreign policy tool to help people. And by the way, we should be opening the floodgates to vetted Australians right now. They're living in an absolute penal colony. They've gone from getting started as a penal colony to being this first world great country with great accents.
Taking away your guns.
Great accents. Then they took their guns away, and now they're back to the penal colony. It's just one big cycle. Hakuna Matata.
So, and we all love Australians, so we hate to see that.
Hey, mate.
We love Australian culture in America, and I've been there several times. I don't want to go back there. It sounds like it's hell on earth at this point in time.
I wanted to go, but now, I see no reason.
And New Zealand is even worse, I think, is than Australia. Of
Well,
like,
they have a communist prime minister.
so
She's
how do you go like total tyrannical? So on asylum, the I would even throw in there, Mark, that there's people even in Middle East countries, Kurds
yep.
and stuff like this,
Oh, the
that
Kurds,
when
for
vetted
sure.
properly, they're actually people. I'm gonna say something here that I never even thought until right now, but I'm friends with a state rep named Tom Brinkman, and he voted on a thing. He got in a lot of trouble because he voted against some meaningless resolution about stopping all Syrian refugees coming into to. And he pointed up that there's an element of Syrian refugees that are Christians that are actually getting killed in Syria. This was like
Absolutely.
5 years ago, and he's like, we should let those people in. The people that are actually getting persecuted. And you're not necessarily, and I guess in a Democrat world, you're getting persecuted if your skills aren't requisite to get a good enough job. Okay. But there are people actually persecuted, like ask Kurds, Armenians, there's a world of persecuted people out there that maybe are more important asylum seekers than, some rationalization that anybody can be an asylum seeker because they can't get a good enough job in their country.
Yeah, I mean, there are myriad places where people could come from that would more appreciate the United States and the opportunity here and would thrive.
So what about the last one I have on here is investment. So, business people coming here or wanting to come here, what's your view of that kind of immigration?
Well, I don't know if that would do much for us, Chris. Let's just name a few names and we'll talk about it. Einstein, Musk, Brin, Tesla, all first, immigrants to the
First
country,
generation immigrants.
first generation immigrants who ended up doing remarkable things. And you can say what you want about someone like Elon Musk, but he didn't take any money away from anybody to build his fortunes, and he's an immigrant. And think about the number of jobs he's created.
Right.
And as I've said before, you bring these entrepreneurs here that have some ideas and they've got education and they've got drive, and they make themselves independent first. They're not depending on the government, and then they create jobs which make other people independent of the government.
Right.
And I guess we don't want to do that, whether it's
people
Democrat.
independent of the government.
God forbid we did that. Swamp rhinos want us to be dependent and Democrats want us to be dependent. There's a small little piece of the pie in Washington that's like fighting this.
I don't know. That's how a crumb of the pie. Like
a crumb of the pie. It might be the fork.
I don't know who they're not doing a good job. And the
other thing is why aren't we recruiting like business relocations? Bring your company here.
Bring your Australian company here.
Right, exactly. I mean, the Rode mic, man, that's an Australian company. They produce amazing products. Bring them here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's the business thing, even on your smaller scale. People that have, I don't know how it exactly works today. Okay. So I don't want to, but there was a time when our policy was, if you would come here and create a business that created so many jobs, and invest so much, then after like a year or two, you could get permanent status in the United States.
Right.
And that's a net. I think a lot of that kind of stuff is a net gain. Obviously, if somebody comes here and creates jobs and invest money. So it's not as simple. And I like you made a comment on what would you call it, like strategic immigration. Like so because I think it is something that is, we need it to be more of a think about how do we use immigration strategically.
Shouldn't everybody in Washington, especially in the legislature, be thinking about legislation that is strategic to improve the country? I don't understand why we don't hear more about those kind of things. And it gets back to something we've talked about before, having a project-based mentality to, we have an objective like going to the moon in a decade. We build a plan, we set the budget, and we just do it. And as Americans, we can do that. But sometimes you know how it is. You worked at IBM. There are times you do blow your
Well,
budget.
we don't blow the budget on the space program like we blow the budget on things now. That doesn't even make any sense. How you get so over budget on things.
And people who talk about open borders, and this is kind of the opposite of the investment piece. They're like, oh, we need open borders. We've always had open borders, but when my ancestors came to this country, there were no entitlement programs. So if you didn't come and work, you had to put food on your table, a roof over your head, and clothes on your back. And sometimes you were connected with families or whatever, but there was no government assistance. People seem to forget that. So when people came, they had a plan, right? They weren't just coming across the border hoping that Uncle Sam would write them a check every month. And I think we all too often forget that history.
Right. So I'm actually looking at we did the thing with Trump and the comments didn't work here. And I'm just going to look at the comments before we move on to see if I see any I want to highlight here on the screen. And I'm if people don't know me, I'm a provocateur. So, so here's somebody that says that we should only allow European immigration. Only allow European immigration. What's your view on that?
Yeah, that is that's a non-starter. We need strategic immigration from wherever we need it, when we need it.
Well, I like to say that, no offense to the person that said that, but it's merit. We need people that have merit, and people of merit aren't based on a region they live, a skin color,
a religion.
Ancestry. Yeah. People of merit are people of merit that bring something to the table. And let me look at here if I see, then I can't. So here's somebody that says, kind of on a point that you said, the chip industry, we should be a leader in that, like suck up the skills for these things.
So Al McAlpine was a high school friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He lives in the Northeast.
So
I haven't seen him on before. So that's cool. Very cool.
And a lot of things, like I see somebody here that's probably like has well, here's something. Illegal immigration leads to more crime, human trafficking, and drug issues.
Well, I don't know if the open border leads to the drug issues.
I think that now you have the drug gangs and cartels are sending their people into our country so they get their network set up on this side of the border.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
That's happening too to that point. And then the human trafficking thing. Okay, so I'm going to put that back up here for a second. The human trafficking thing and the drug issues. Now, I don't think the drug issue gets another fight, but the human trafficking is another aspect of how illegal immigration should be disgusting to us.
Right.
Is that it is the vehicle for human trafficking, and we don't need that. We don't need human trafficking, and now this one, I want you to respond to this. I'm going to throw up here. Is Afghanistan, I guess it's to say Afghanis in Ohio. What do you feel about Afghanis in Ohio?
Well, I've got a real problem with the way that whole situation in Afghanistan was handled. I do not believe that we brought the best and brightest and the folks who helped us and aided us to the United States. We left a lot of them behind, and that's an absolute tragedy and a travesty. And this whole relocation thing, Chris, there's absolutely no transparency and no disclosure on anything that's going on. This is all being done in secret. The mainstream media isn't covering it. Where these people are going, how they're being resettled. I saw something from, I think, the Columbus Board of Realtors, where they're working with the city of Columbus to find homes for Afghanis who are relocating to Columbus. While we have homeless people on the street, homeless veterans on the street, there's no It appears to be that there's no common sense being used to put together a strategic plan around this. It's strictly political expediency.
Well, I think a lot of it is because whether you're homeless, whether you're this, whether you're that, it's your dependent. And that's why I always say that, you performed in your career the most important function of a free American, which is helping other free people be free,
Yep.
free of fear of the government and free of whatever. So I think that I'm looking at some of these other comments, I the thing on the Europe or not, I just watched a thing last night on the Mexican American War, and I tell people our country was founded on people from all over the place in different regions of the country. And in California, it wasn't, there are different people that were
Right.
there, and it's all about melting pot. It's about the best, whether it's Irish, Italian, they give your legacy. Vietnamese after the Vietnam War. I think a lot of Vietnamese came into our country after the Vietnam War that have done great things in our country.
Fabulous.
Right. And so I think that I think the key is, and you tell me if we're not on the same page, but legal and strategic good, illegal, chaotic, low skill, dependent, bad.
Bad.
So,
yeah.
All totally right. Anything else you want to add on the topic of immigration?
Only that it's an opportunity. It's a strategic opportunity for the country, and it's being squandered, and we need to capitalize on it.
Okay. And I want to, and just I threw up some of the comments there. I'm glad the comment stream's working correctly, and I'm trying to get better at seeing the comments as they go by. I want to say, for covering this topic, even on the things where maybe some of the people in the comments, you or I've said something different, there is not another Senate candidate having discussions like this, even remotely. Yeah. It's all just red meat bullshit, basically, that you get from other people. So I appreciate as one, and I hope other people appreciate, your commitment to really cover policy topics
right
here so that's it. That's all I got to say. What closing thought on immigration before we move on to the next topic, which is about Jane Timken surging in the pools?
I think we can move forward. I mean, again, I'm going to say we need to use it positively as a strength for the country. We need the melting pot approach rather than this weird cultural mosaic that Canada tries and fails at. We've got the right recipe. We just have to use it.
Right. And I think we need people that want to be part of it. Okay. Not want to be, it's not just enough to want to be free of what you are. It's that you want to be part of something special here in the United States. And I think
could we use that rule with people who are here, that were born here, that don't want to be part of it? Can we get rid of them? We trade them? When's the trade deadline?
What's funny is, you remember before, I don't want to go on a tangent here, but Walter Williams, I believe he's deceased now, but he likes to point out, who was a great columnist. And if people have never heard of Walter Williams, he was a black columnist when I was a kid growing up, a teenager, and he was fantastic. Like a Thomas Sowell type, but shorter articles. Okay. And he brought up that all of the biggest tragedies in human history are caused by government. The calamity we have of illegal immigration is caused by our government letting it happen.
Yep.
Right. So there are all of these things that happen. It's one of those, tragedies that's not ultimately good for anybody. Okay. We ready to move on to segment 2?
We are.
Let's do it. All right. So we're here to talk about Jane Timken. Before we get into it, you got anything you want to say about Jane Timken? Then I'm going to talk a little bit about her, and then we're going to go to you.
I was going to say before that if you continue using language like you used in the last segment, we're going to have to fire you so you can.
What did I say? Did I drop an F-bomb?
You said bullshit, Chris.
Oh, okay.
Can't say bullshit.
Well, then at the end of this, let's jointly agree that we're going to both say blank Joe Biden.
Right.
So,
Right.
so,
So
I can get you to say the F-bomb on your own live stream.
that'd be good. That'd get me some press coverage, I'm sure. I might even get included in a poll if that happens. Yeah.
So I'm gonna put up here, and I'm gonna put us down the corner here a little bit. Okay. So Jane Timken is going crazy on social media about how she's surging in the polls. It's unbelievable. And I know you've been out on the campaign trail. I'm just going to kind of run through this and then turn it over to you. I know I'm being facetious, by the way, if anybody's wondering sometimes. I know I hear from you out on the campaign trail how the surge is unbelievable of Jane Timken. People screaming Jane everywhere you go.
It's a tsunami.
So she's had like, I don't know how many I have here, but these multiple posts on her social media about like she's surging in the polls. This is January 7th at 7:15 p.m. January 7th, 4 p.m., statistically tied. January 8th, 6:35 p.m. You know, she did an interview about how she's surging in the polls and how you should vote for her because she's a woman. And let's listen to an excerpt from that interview that's about 30 seconds long.
I'm surging in the polls, and I'm proud to say that we released a poll today that I'm tied for the lead in this Senate primary, and that's because my message is resonating. I've been talking to Ohioans about things that matter to them: inflation, work shortages, the rise in crime, and what's happening to our schools. These are going to be important issues that I'm going to be running on, and issues I'm going to try to work to solve when I'm the next United States Senator from Ohio.
Okay. By the way, I left out there. She then went into how people need to vote for her because she's a woman.
Right.
Nothing with, and you remember a long time ago when I haven't seen them in a while, but she had those handouts that said, "I'm with Jane," which was exactly the same thing as "I'm with Hillary."
They
were like Hillary Clinton handouts.
Yeah, they looked exactly the same. I remember we were at the Claremont County Lincoln Day dinner, and it was at that table, and I couldn't believe. I think I took pictures of it because I couldn't believe it. I'm like, that is a mistake.
Well, I haven't seen them in a while, but
they're not out there anymore.
And this is yesterday, so it would have been the 10th at 12:25 p.m. You know,
does she show the poll in any of these, Chris?
Never. So I looked. I only went to Facebook. I didn't go to Twitter. I looked at Facebook. She never actually had the poll. So then I'm like, oh, the surge. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the surge everywhere I go of Jane Timken. Everybody's screaming Jane everywhere I go. I went to that.
Bernie had the burn. Bernie had the burn. Jane's got the surge.
Yeah, I went to that. Couldn't hardly get to the grocery store because the people lying in the streets screaming Jane. Here's the actual poll. Okay. And it shows, so Jane Timken's super poll of surging shows that Josh Mandel leads. But she's second. So that's a big improvement for her poll. Okay.
Right.
She has Josh Mandel. That's part one. I don't know if you guys see this. If everybody, hopefully you can see it. But it says she has 18%. Or Mandel has 18%. She has 16%. Okay.
Yep.
Then it says her favorability is 30% and her unfavorability is 14%. And that's a surge, unbelievably favorable. But Mandel's is higher. Mandel's favorability is 42%. Right. So Mandel's leading and he has higher favorability and he has higher unfavorability than her. But I bet you there's a lot more people that have heard of Josh Mandel than
absolutely.
And that JD Vance is unfavorable. You know, he's gotten more unfavorable. He has the unfavorables of Josh. So this is the actual poll. And then she has this thing that she had a thing that Josh Mandel's own polling shows that he's collapsing. Okay. But never kind of gets into the fact I'm going to put up here that his polling shows he has 26% and she has 15%. So that he has an 11-point lead. And then that little insert there where Mark's picture's touching a little bit, that was the last poll. I don't know if it was the last poll. It was the September 20 to 23. He had 37%. And now it says he has 26% in here. So that is kind of the deal with these polls. So he's gone down on these polls. So, you know, here's what I wanted to do. I don't want to go into like, let's talk about, we know that you kind of get not treated fairly, to use the words of Mr. Trump, not treated fairly in these polls by not even being included.
Right.
We do some things we never say it's polls. We call it surveying that shows a massive number of undecided people
Right.
In the race, and that you know, depends on what we do. You're polling as higher than a lot of these people in these when we do you're included, but you're not included in these polls, so you're not even an option. I don't know of a major poll where you've even been an option, and I don't think you were an option early on, and you're less likely to be an option now because you're constantly slamming on the corrupt ORP.
Right.
So you're not a popular guy to have anything. But here's what I wanted to do, Mark, and I put up here is I wanted to ask you as a person out on the campaign trail, okay, and you're running for the office, but you're also a citizen. And I truly believe that what you want more than anything is the best thing for our country and the state. Okay. And, you know, and so I just want to get your insight, and I'm going to ask you about you last, but on each of the candidates, kind of where do you think it is? What's your impression when you're out there, you know, at these events with them and so on and so forth? So let's start. I put them in order of Josh Mandel's poll. So Josh Mandel.
His best day was the day he announced he was running for office. He's been dropping, even in his own polls, he's been dropping slowly.
Okay. I feel like he really needed to, he tried out of the chute to put it away early and get people backed out. He failed. Now he's dropping. And I want to compliment you. I think that despite people attacking you, you've done a lot to get people to think about what a fraud this guy is.
Yeah, he's a caricature, a facade. He's playing the role of a televangelist. He's, you know, not the guy he's telling you he is. He's got a lot of baggage, and people are starting to see it. And on top of that, he's an actor, right? So we called out some of his mannerisms in terms of acting, in like you know, Bible in one hand, Constitution in the other, over my dead body. I am the only one on the stage. I have been endorsed by, I mean, you remember the time when I said my 89-year-old mom, she's 90 now, endorsed me. I mean, that was that was kind of fun, you know, but it kind of poked at the fact that this is an actor, right?
So let's go on just for time here. Let's keep, we're trying, Mark and I, everybody knows, we try to talk about, we got to be shorter on these things because we're
I'm sorry. I talk too much.
And but we're both responsible. So Jane Timken.
Boy, can I say it? She's trading on the fact she's a woman, and she will need an endorsement for the Ohio Republican Party to go anywhere versus Mandel. And her unfavorable numbers, like the favorable, unfavorable numbers, as low as they are, don't surprise me.
Okay.
And it's really interesting. The people that support her, a lot of them, when we're at events, are very, very impolite. Let's just put it that way to us.
Right.
And so I don't see her as being extremely likable.
Hey, I'm going to share a comment here. I'm trying to get better at reading these comments. If being a female is a defining qualification, then I'm equally qualified. Is about half the population. It's more than half the population, by the way. So you know, and it's like we need more of this, we need more of that. How racist and sexist is it that we need people based on, you know, gender or whatever to be? That's how we need to start doing things. But
maybe like with Josh on calling him off on his acting, if I call her out on the fact that she's trading on being female, they'll call me sexist now.
Right.
Maybe I'll get
women.
Maybe I'll get an article done on the Cosmopolitan.
Mike Gibbons.
Mike has spent a lot of money, like $10 million or something on ads, and it hasn't moved the needle a bit. I think that was a bad investment. If I had that money, Chris, let's face it, with the kind of ads we've got on radio, if we had the ability to do video and a $10 million budget, this would be over.
No, you would be arrested.
Every person in the country or every person in the state would know how to say my last name.
Right. Okay. So the next one on this list is J.D. Vance.
I think that that old expression, all the king's men, I think it's over for JD. I don't think there's anything he can do. I think the Club for Growth PAC, Never Trumper ads just demolished him, and with good reason. They demolished him. The maybe if Mitch McConnell would come in and campaign for him in Ohio, he'd get a boost because he's Mitch McConnell's person.
Mitch don't come across the bridge because he's afraid of the Brent Smith's bridge.
It'll collapse because he can't get it funded. Yeah, can you imagine?
To get here,
could you imagine that Mitch McConnell's driving across the bridge and then all of a sudden collapse?
By the way, I like this. Is like this comment paid for by California investors. I like.
True.
Because I'm the person that likes to say he's the senator Californians want you to have for Ohio.
Right.
So no offense to Californians, because conservatives in California look for places to invest money where Republicans can win. Just when you've been living in California forever, you might have a different view of what a Republican is.
Right.
Then in California, I understand Arnold Schwarzenegger's a Republican. Okay. So Bernie's
a mini Mike.
Okay.
He's spending a lot of money. He's doing ads. He's not moving the needle. And on top of that, it's clear he was a never Trumper up until April 2019. And that's not my opinion. He says it on video.
Right.
Time stamped on the interwebs. Anybody can go see it.
Well,
Bernie.
I put, by the way, for me personally, you, Gibbons, and Moreno at least have the trait of you're not these career politician types, at least. So I want to give at least that, you're coming from an outside perspective at some level more than these other people, which brings us to the last one on this list, Matt Dolan.
He is who he is. He doesn't stand a chance. He's a never Trumper and a kind of a rhino guy. Middle of the roader, but he is authentic. I believe he believes in his policies and that they're right. He's not a facade. He's not a caricature. I've told him that to his face. I respect him for that. But I totally disagree with his policies. but he is a guy I'd want to go out and have a beer with and have a conversation with because I think he's an interesting guy. And I think
he's you got it. Okay, so if I go down this list and say, who are the actors and facades on this list? He's not an actor or a facade. He is
totally not.
So
totally not.
He's authentic. He's like the Mitt Romney of Ohio, but he's authentic. He doesn't hide it. He doesn't put on an act like
Not at all.
Other people on this list, so I won't say their names, suddenly became America First Trump people when they thought it could get them elected.
Right. And Mike Gibbons is also not a facade.
Mike Gibbons doesn't have interview reels on Cleveland TV of him dissing on Trump.
Right.
In 2019. Okay. So, and I don't have any, deal. People should be honest. They should be authentic with where they are, where they were. Okay. Now I put up here Pukita.
I'm a long shot. I need all the help I can get. I don't know where I am. We've done surveys and things like that. All I know is I'm in this till the end. What we're doing, Chris, is bigger than just me running for Senate and getting elected. We're exposing, all kinds of things and having discussions we need to be having as Ohioans and Americans. And we'll go right down to the wire, running through the tape, as fast and hard as we can. But it's a long shot, and I need all the support I can get. And I'm not getting it from the media, and I'm not getting it from the party, and I'm not getting it from, supposed Christian values organizations. It's an uphill fight, but David won.
The thing that is so weird is that there are so many people that are just sick of things the way they are. And so I think that's part of the reason when political consultants help Bernie Moreno and Mike Gibbons come up with commercials that fit the political type of thing that they do, they don't have the impact. It's kind of like it's kind of like a booster shot on the. So
Right.
it's kind of like a COVID booster shot. It makes some
Right.
money for the company and the political consultants, but it's not doing you any good. So
Right. Right.
so it's not doing you any good at that point. And it's just, I think there's so much frustration with this that is, and I think you and I talk. The question is we got a lot of people out there that vote in primaries. Well, a very small percentage of their people actually vote in a primary. And a lot of those people vote just because they think it's their civic duty. And those people are the ones that people that want to get endorsed, like Jane Timken by the ORP, count on them just voting the way some card tells them to vote.
Right.
And so let's hope that, people wake up, because we can't, what's it you say? I'm going to give you the hint here. We can't keep electing people like this and expect a different result. And so that's the thing. So, all right. Anything else on Jane Timken or Jane Timken and her surge? Any other comments on her surge and the impact?
I think that talking about that as a surge is a splurge. Trying to find something to rhyme, but
This is like the way that I don't know. I get myself in trouble by saying something. This is like what happens when the military is forced to give political measurements of success in wars versus realistic measurements. Only Jane Timken can see polls in which her opponent leads her, and their favorability view is higher than her, as an example of her being unbelievable.
she needs that crooked ORP endorsement to be successful. She doesn't get it. She will not be the winner. I might not be the winner, but she will not be the winner if she doesn't get the endorsement.
And I don't know that the typical people, know that by just being a woman, she has a natural advantage, because whether we like it or not, there are people that vote on gender, and there are more women voters. That's why you see so many women voters candidates put forward right now.
Right.
By the way, on the one hand, you could say like it's whatever, but it's the reason why that's a good sign of capitalism. You have a better odds of winning with a woman, so the politicos try to find women, right? Because they want to win. It's like you have a better chance of winning NASCAR driving this year a Toyota or whatever. So you want to get with the program on your best chance of winning. Okay. All right. Anything else on this? Otherwise, we're going to do a campaign update. And in the campaign update, we're going to show 2 commercials, including an immigration one. But let's go into a campaign update. All right. So I have 2 commercials kind of queued up, and I'm going to let you pick what order you want me to play them. But before I play the 2 commercials, anything you want to just opine on as a campaign update outside of the commercials I'm going to play?
Not really, other than we've got, events coming up tomorrow. We've got a brown bag Zoom lunch meeting that we do every meet. It's kind of a meet mark, open forum for people to ask questions and get answers. And then events sprinkle throughout the week, and 2 on Saturday where we've got split second timing to get from Portage County to Trumbull County, or I forget. So that's going to be split second timing, but we'll make it. We'll make it.
After a team going. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So people ought to know that if they go to your website, markforohio.com/events, or if you just go to markforohio.com and click on events, there's actually at the top of the screen a place to request Mark to come to one of your events. So, and we get a decent number of those. We're bringing on some additional resource to help process some of those requests and some of the other things. So those of you that might have ever made any of those requests, or if we're not getting a quick response, hopefully we're going to get better at responding in a timely fashion. Okay, so I have 2 commercials here. One is the commercial that's currently playing on iHeart and Salem media stations, and one that is not yet playing, but will be playing starting next week.
Right.
Which one, you, Mr. Mark Pukita, you're the boss. Which one do you want me to play first?
Let's play the one that's running now, because the one after that is good and people,
You have to have somebody
we'll
hanging.
build up the anticipation for the new one, because some of the folks I've seen on here have told me they've heard the other ad.
Okay, so here's the ad that's playing now.
Did you hear that all the Republican U.S. Senate primary candidates want the military to take over Border Patrol?
Well, not Pukita. He has it right, like Trump. Build a wall and empower the Border Patrol. Focus the military on China.
That's smart. China is the threat the
Mark Pukita, a Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message that is about something bigger than my U.S. Senate campaign. I'm sick of fake Republicans like Lockdown Mike DeWine and Bribery Larry Householder. I'm sick of lack of accountability. I'm fed up with pay-to-play Ohio Republican Party politics and primary endorsements meant to block grassroots competition. We need to reform our Republican Party. It's time to end Ohio Republican Party primary endorsements to restore election integrity in Republican primaries. Republican Party leaders meet again on Friday, February 4th in Columbus. Learn more, attend, and reserve a spot at a post-meeting event at mark4ohio.com. That's mark4ohio.com. This message is paid for by Mark Pukita for U.S. Senate 2022 Committee. Let's go, Brandon.
All right, I'm going to get chewed out by the boss because I clicked on the wrong one first.
You got to go to work for Jane Timken now. Got to go to work for Jane Timken.
The double fit. What is that? What Dan Bongino said? The double whatever. So I clicked on the wrong one. So that commercial was about ORP, needing to clean up the ORP. Any comments on that commercial or what's going on with it, or February 4th?
So February 4th is a big day. We're having an event, an after party, an after event after the ORP State Central Committee meeting that Friday. That meeting, we need as many people there as possible. So the idea is you go to the meeting and you participate as a guest or a member of the party, and then we'll have an event afterwards where we'll have some presentations and we'll talk about strategy in terms of the Ohio Republican Party and our programs to support people to run for State Central Committee, which can be found out on the website. I won't talk about them here, but you can go to the website. And I think, Chris, it's on the red banner at the top of every page.
On the website.
Yeah, people can go to the top of the page if you want to run for State Central Committee. So that's what we're doing. So we need as many people there as possible. And you can sign up, go to the website, and you can find it on the events page. So that's mark4ohio.com. That's mark4ohio.com. And just go to the menu and you can get to the events page and you can sign up there. We must be rattling some cages because we're getting people who are spamming the Eventbrite page. So, Chris,
well, I'm gonna real quick here. I think let's see if I got to try to redeem myself before the end of this call on it because I clicked on the wrong button. So this is the page this is Mark's web page. If I did this right, so there it is. And if you click on it right up here at the top where it says "Learn More," you can go in here and you can learn all about it. Okay, on there. And you're absolutely right. There's something we're working with Eventbrite on a spammer thing because it's almost like clockwork. You can see when they're coming in, and we'll deal with it. And if you're trying to get into that event, we're going to keep opening it up more. And we're working with Eventbrite on identifying the spammers involved with it. But you must be ruffling some feathers. We've had several events. We don't use Eventbrite a lot, but this is the first time we've had this like calculated thing to constantly come in and take up all the tickets. It's interesting. It's interesting. And I don't know if people might not know this, but the dirty tricks people do in politics and the skills they have to do them. The dirty dossier on Donald Trump, this is the kind of shit goes on in politics all the time. Like,
yeah. And state and local politics too.
Right. And I would love to say that it is, only, I think it's more Democrats, but it happens all over the place because on both sides of the aisle, we have too many people that lack proper character. in there. And I know you would never be involved with something unscrupulous, wrong, unethical, immoral involved in campaigning. So, and I know I wouldn't.
Why would I do that when I'm having so much fun talking about the truth, Chris? I mean,
About
seriously,
actual things.
it's
All
fun.
right, so we're almost out of time here. I'm going to play
Play the last one. Let's go.
I gave the teaser because I hit the wrong button. Let's see if I can hit the right button this time, and I don't accidentally play Jane Timken again. So here is the ad, which is on immigration.
Did you hear that all the Republican U.S. Senate primary candidates want the military to take over Border Patrol?
Well, not Pukita. He has it right, like Trump. Build a wall and empower the Border Patrol. Focus the military on China.
That's smart. China is the threat the military should focus on.
You should check out Pukita at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, Ohio.com.
I will.
I'm Mark Pukita, a Republican citizen candidate running for U.S. Senate. I'm focused on issues like law and order, education, government accountability, freedom, and fiscal responsibility. I'm the only candidate for national constitutional carry and a national heartbeat bill. Learn more about me and my policy agenda at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, Ohio.com. I'm Mark Pukita, and I approve this message that is paid for by Mark Pukita for U.S. Senate 2022 Committee. Let's go, Brandon.
So that ad is on, we'll start next week on iHeart and Salem. And then the other ad is on iHeart and Salem right now. So I think that's a pretty good focus on immigration and border security. Comments, Mark?
If people like the ad on the Ohio Republican Party, they're really going to like the 7 ads that we've got. They're provocative. Some are going to be contentious. We're probably going to get some pushback on some of them, but they're all honest. They're all truthful. We're attacking facades and caricatures, not people. We're attacking ideas, not people. And we're going to continue to do that. So, but as I said, we're a long shot. We're not deluding ourselves. We know we've got an uphill battle. We need everybody supporting us everywhere. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell people you don't know, tell your enemies.
Tell people you don't know. Tell people that you don't know. So, those are the right people to tell. People that don't know, or maybe they don't know you, Mark. So, all right. Well, so I think unless you've got something else you want to hit on, that's our show for tonight. And, so let me let you have some closing thoughts.
I just want to thank everybody that's listening and helping with us. We've got great volunteers. I want to thank our volunteers. They've been fantastic, hardworking, honest, dedicated, really patriots. And I love you all. Thank you so much. And we live in the greatest country in the world. And we can never forget that. And we can't let people take it away from us.
Well, I just want to say being the greatest country in the world is something we have to earn every day. What is it that Ronald Reagan said? We're only one generation away from, freedom being extinguished. And
right.
We've never been harder pressed than right now.
And we're seeing that. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Cool. Thank you, Mark.
Hey, let's go, Brandon.
Fuck Joe Biden.
I am not saying that.